Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to Tree of Life Tarot. This is going to be your pick a card reading for the month of May. So you have 3 piles here to choose from, and I'll show you your little totems here as well as the decks so you can make your selection about what draws to you. So pile number 1, we have an Amazonite heart, so this lovely sort of turquoise color Amazonite heart. And your deck is the traditional Rider-Waite tarot. So good old strong classic there. Pile number 2 is going to be the feather. And for pile number 2, we're going to use the Witch's Tarot. So another, they're all classic. Well, actually my third deck's a little different. So this is the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Duggan. So that's pile number 2. And pile number 3 is going to be the Believe stone. So you need a little extra belief. And for this deck pile, we're going to use the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot, which is one of my personal favorites, which is a really artistic, imaginative, adventurous kind of deck. So these are going to be your 3 main decks for this reading. So pause it if you need a minute and let your intuition guide you. And of course, if you pick one and you're like, oh, nope, that wasn't it, try a different one and see. All right, I'll see you in your pile. Hello, pile number 1. Welcome to your reading. So if this is your pile, you chose the classic Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck and this lovely blue Amazonite heart here. So let's slide this over. Now, I also want to mention actually, before we get going, if you chose this heart, you might be wondering what aspects it has and what might have drawn it to you. This particular stone resonates to the throat chakra and the heart chakra. It also represents the element of water. So there's a sense of water being the emotions, being in touch with the emotions, but as it also has to do with the throat chakra, it's expressing deep feeling. It is not just holding, it's being in touch with your deep waters within, and then also being able to flow them out clearly through communication. So that's one message from our Amazonite heart there. Now, you'll also see this extra card here. I have a few new decks that I want to incorporate, but I'm not quite ready to read fully with this deck yet. This deck is called Bone Stone and Earth Flesh Tarot. It's incredibly beautiful and incredibly powerful. And I'm using it a bit like an oracle right now because on each card, as I'll show you, there's, the traditional tarot, but there's also a figure from mythology or sort of the spiritual zeitgeist to kind of add layers of meaning to that tarot card. So I don't know which one this is yet, but each one I pulled for each deck is a representation of Taurus, of which there are 3 within the tarot spectrum. And I pulled those cards because we are entering May in Taurus season. That is really the primary energy that is setting the tone for what we're moving into. It will change to Gemini sort of towards the end of the month, around the 21st or so. But right now we are all sort of under the influence of this Taurus energy. So let's see what this is. Okay, so you've got the King of Pentacles and the Green Man. Now, King of Pentacles, obviously the ultimate card of the Pentacles suit, the ruler of the Pentacles suit. So wheeled resources, has lots of stability, abundance, can be associated with luxury, but it's not just about luxury, it's about understanding and right use of resources. And having abundance from a place of being very grounded in the material realm of knowledge, of business, of, how things work and operate and flow, and being able to use them well and rule them well in justness and fairness for the benefit of all, because when all benefit, the king benefits as well. So let's see a little bit about the Green Man from this book. This deck is fabulous. I highly recommend it if you want to explore. So, the Green Man and the King of Pentacles, the message that it conveys is, take up the mantle of power and manage your resources as though you were a monarch. I'm going to read that again. Take up the mantle of power and manage your resources as though you were a monarch. So very similar to what I was just saying, gaining mastery over your resources. And just a little about the Green Man. He's a figure in largely Celtic and Northern European mythology and lore. And it says, the Green Man is a primal force to be reckoned with. His magic and majesty are the wild heart that beats through every sentient creature, holding sway over the primal force surging through all creation. He is the roar, the tooth, the blood, and the venom. So a primal force to be reckoned with. His magic and majesty are the wild heart that beats through every sentient creature. So his life force amplifies, gives flow and animation to all that is. And all that is resources for us to interact with. And that does not mean in a transactional way. That means in a mutually honoring, respectful, understanding the right balance and natural hierarchies of creation, and working with that natural order, knowing when it can be pushed, knowing when it needs to be preserved, understanding that balance, understanding how resources work. So gaining that mastery. So that's your oracle message for this month. I'm going to put him right over here while we read. Okay, so we're going to do my traditional 2-5-5 spread. So we're going to get 2 cards for the overall message of the month, and then 5 for the story and 5 more to confirm and clarify. So I'm going to shuffle 2 more times. I have already sort of pre-shuffled, but I feel the energy starting to move a little right now. So I want to make sure we are, okay, I'm told that it's set. I want to make sure everything is attuned. Well, right off the bat, speaking of resources, Knight of Pentacles, our slowest moving knight, but our surest and steadiest knight. Okay, and then we have, well, so this is a very resource-minded card. Now I want to say, I'm going to put the Knight of Cups back, but the Knight of Cups did come out, and that is a little interesting to me because what we were talking about with our Amazonite stone, that there's the heart and being in touch with those emotions and also being able to express it, and he is expressing. So, Knight of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles. There is slow movement into new ventures. Now, you see on the back of our 2 of Pentacles here, behind our character, these ships riding out the waves. That says there's ups and downs. This is always my card that I say, it's learning to get your sea legs. You know, when you go out to sea, you've got to be able to maintain your balance and move and do everything you need to do, even though the ship is kind of tossing and swaying and the ground beneath you is not steady. So you have to learn to find balance from a deeper place within. And so this Knight of Pentacles is on a quest, and I'm getting strong quest energy here. You know, both of these characters have left home and are learning the lessons and slowly gathering, I mean, this goes right back to our Green Man, gathering the skills needed to wield mastery over their resources. And, you know, here we're getting a little bit more of the student energy of learning this dance, this balance, this infinite flow. Notice the Mobius strip there. While our our Knight of Pentacles here is, you know, is in that building stage. Slowly but surely is moving forward, is moving out, does have, you know, if he's on a quest, the quest entails having a goal in mind. Now, you may end up in a different place than where you set out to be, but does have some sort of vision of what he wants to build in the material realm and is in motion towards it. Now, with the Two of Pentacles, what I'm getting here is that even though this journey has begun, what you might be realizing, having taken those initial steps, is there's something else you need to learn. It's kind of that case of when you set out, you don't know what you don't know. Well, now you're kind of finding out what you don't know. Now you're in it. Now the waves are swaying and you've got to learn fast. Excuse me. There is something that has been revealed. And this doesn't have to be a bad thing. Don't take this as like a fear-based energy. It's not at all. It's just, as I said, you don't know what you don't know until you're in the situation and you realize there's different skills I need to address this. This is more juggling than I thought it was going to be. There are more moving parts and more swaying going on around me than I was prepared for. So there is something new that has to be learned in service of this vision. And I sense it can be learned pretty quickly. Because this is not, and we'll get the rest of the cards in a moment here, this is not an energy of go back to the drawing board. Not at all. This is adding on and adapting to the moment and using the resources around you, learning to be resourceful, to get what you need, to get that lesson, to get, you know, even if it is an actual resource, to progress further on this journey that our Knight is on. Okay, let's get the rest of our cards. Ooh, okay. I like that though. All right, 5 cards, please. All right, Knight of Wands, first out. That one wanted to come out. Queen of Swords. Now, I don't know if you just saw that. The 7 of Swords came out, and as I touched it to pick it up, it flipped right around. So I'm going to take that as that it wants to come out in reverse, which I actually prefer, if I'm quite honest. All right, 3 of Pentacles. One more. Okay, 2 of Wands. Interesting. Bottom of the deck, 2 of Cups, which speaks to partnerships. I'm a little surprised to see this because there's no other water coming out here, but this can speak to, this does not have to be romantic relationships, though it can be. And of course, soulmates are not just romantic partners. They are collaborators, siblings, family members, people we meet on our journey that help move us forward on our journey. And that's sort of what I'm getting from this card, which I was already getting as we were coming through this middle section here, that there are some other people involved here. Excuse me. Now, I want to start with our Queen of Swords, 7 of Swords. We'll come back to our Knight here. Actually, we'll start with the Knight of Wands because I think the Knight of Wands is just saying one quick detail here, which is there is a desire to move faster than you can. There's a desire to get to the finish line. There's this impulsivity and like, let me just get there already. Let me learn the lesson already. Like, let's just go. Let's just go. And that energy, you know, it's not inherently bad. You see the flames coming out of him. It does propel and fuel forward movement, but it can miss things in its haste. And our Queen of Swords right here, she's got her head above the clouds, her hand up, her sword up. She is seeing clearly. And what I'm particularly getting with this Queen of Swords, especially with our Seven of Swords in the mix, is there is a need to deal clear-mindedly, not just in terms of personal vision. This is in terms of how you deal with others. That make sure that there is proper and clear communication, that everything is done justly, and, you know, rock solid integrity is what's coming to mind. And I was hearing that even before kind of considering the Seven of Swords here, but that really just confirms it. Seven of Swords can be a card of lying, cheating, stealing, doing things behind the scenes, sort of not letting one hand know what the other is doing. It's not a good energy. It's bad communication. And so our Queen of Swords here is really saying, do not, you know, make sure everything is on the up and up. Make sure you're communicating clearly with those around. Do not just, you know, this character here, our Seven of Swords, I always say it's my least favorite card, is looking out for his own interests. He is not, you know, if everybody else loses the shirt off their back, you know, not his problem. Except it will become his problem when karma comes back around. It always does. So our Queen of Swords here, you know, outranking our Knight especially, is calling for that tact, that diplomacy, clear-minded, clear communication, knowing boundaries. She does know her boundaries. And so this Seven of Swords in reverse is either releasing that behavior. You know, I'd be more worried if this was upright. It's either releasing that behavior, it's a passing energy, it's you know, if this were upright, I would be more concerned saying this is something to be on the lookout for. Be watchful of this. Reverse for me, this is saying don't fall prey to this. Release this if that's an impulse you're feeling. Lean into the Queen of Swords instead. And particularly followed by the Three of Pentacles, this is a card of collaboration. It's a card of building together. It's also the card of having, you know, a master plan. And we talked about that a little bit with our Knight of Pentacles. There is a vision in mind, but it's absolutely a card of collaboration. And in order to build this masterpiece, other people are needed. There is a need to cooperate. And of course, we see here with our Seven of Swords in reverse, this is the opposite of cooperation. This is what you don't want to do. That's why it's in reverse. Three of Pentacles is the card and the path of long-term stability, of mastery, of, you know, this is like if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You want to go far, Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Wands wants to go fast. Knight of Pentacles wants to go far. And this is our prevailing energy for this reading. So you need cooperation, collaboration, community to get there. So this is a very good card, and it's really confirmed by the bottom of the deck. There may already be someone else coming in, or there may already be someone who has already come in, or there may be someone coming in soon. Either one is possible, but I am getting with the Two of Wands here, kind of looking out at the horizon and considering, you might be asking yourself, who do I need to achieve this vision? This might be an understanding that you can't go at Seven of Swords. You need Three of Pentacles collaboration. So now looking out at the horizon and saying, who do I need to enlist? Whose help do I need? I have the world, I have the vision, I'm looking out, I'm considering future possibilities. You know, who do I need to help go the distance? Okay, let's clarify. Oh, okay. All right, well, Five of Wands. So there's that sort of energy of competition, competing energies, things kind of flying all around. Empress, I love it. Another card of Taurus and Libra. Okay, interesting. Nine of Cups in reverse underneath our Seven of Swords in reverse. All right, let's get the rest. Whoop, okay, that did not want to come out. This does. Tower. And Ace of Pentacles. Okay, and bottom of the deck. I need to cover her up a little bit, but the World. So, the World, let me find something to cover her with, because YouTube is a little precious about body parts. Okay, the World is the completion. It is the end of the cycle. It is everything has come into its fullness. The lessons have been learned. The cycle is complete, and now we're going back to zero. But this is, you know, it's a culmination card. So, a lot going on in this bottom row here. 5 of Wands to confirm the Knight of Wands. So this is a lot of competing energies. It is healthy competition. And, you know, it is possible that our Knight of Wands character is a competitor. He could be a competing knight, which would also add another layer to these cards here, which is, if this is competition, do not go for the underhanded tactics. The message remains the same. I'm just adding a little more to it. So if this is a competitor, none of this, no 7 of Swords. B, use your brain, use your intelligence as the Queen of Swords. And this could also be saying that a competitor could become the collaborator that you need. Remember, the 2 of Cups was on the bottom. And we have 2 knights coming out here. They are 2 equals. So your competitor could be ultimately the collaborator that you need. It's the joining of those energies together. And with the 5 of Wands here, you know, that is, it's healthy competition, competing energies. So that's what I'm getting from that. The Empress with the Queen of Swords. This is another reminder that you already have the stability that you need, which is also why there's no need for these underhanded tactics. The Empress, you know, both of these are powerful, powerful figures sitting on their thrones in their own essence. You know, the kings are more rulers, you know, with the more masculine cards, and again, not talking about gender, just the essence and the expression, are about rulership, the sort of wielding of the resources. Our queens and our empress are the essence and embodiment of them. She is fertility itself. She has everything around her. She is in tune with all of nature. And this is just reaffirming how secure you already are in your current position. There's no need, again, this message is repeating over and over again. There is no need for any kind of shortcuts, underhanded behavior, you know, guarding against competitors, because no one competes with the Empress. You can't, you know. Everybody can try, but she's always going to come out on top because she's not competing. That's very important. She is not competing. She is doing her thing. She is in her essence, and that attracts all the abundance to her. Her motto is, I don't chase, I attract. So reinforcing how secure you already are and to stay in that essence. Now, 9 of Cups in reverse is a little bit of a funny card to see come under here. And it's, I mean, I feel like spirit laughing a little bit at this, because this is another one to guard against wasteful behaviors. You know, upright 9 of Cups is satisfaction, wish fulfillment, enjoyment of what's around. But reversed, it can speak to overindulgence. Sloth. What's the other word I'm trying to, there's a word that's escaping me that kind of really speaks to this. But you get what I'm saying. It is, you know, again, guarding against our 2 reversals in alignment with each other. Don't squander what you have. Don't waste it. It's like when you get there, don't do anything shady to protect it. Don't overindulge and squander it just because you think, oh, I've got this, I've arrived, now I can just, this is saying no. There's a lot more to do. And learning to hold your resources is also important. The Empress holds her resources. She holds it all within her. She's not wasting anything. She has everything she could ever need and more, but she's not wasting it. Again, back to our green man at the beginning. Right use and right order of resources. Letting everything do what it's meant to do, not forcing it to be something that it's not. And then we come to the Tower, which is quite interesting here with our Three of Pentacles. So, in one sense, we are rebuilding. Something has, you know what I'm getting here? Because both of these cards speak very strongly of building structures. The Three of Pentacles, and you'll notice how similar, just look at these cards in terms of their colors, in terms of, you know, strong concrete structure, except the lightning bolt has come and knocked the crown off. The crown being the belief system, the organizing idea of something. Whereas here, there is, you know, strength being built for longevity. Now, with the Tower, I'm getting here that a different view is needed. The belief system, what I'm hearing, there's that, I think this is like scriptural, but it's like, don't build your house on sands, build it on rock. I feel like there's like a Sunday school song that goes with that. Build your home on the right foundation, in the right way. And this is also very much, you know, funny enough, do this again. You see the Three of Pentacles here, and look at these three windows here, but look at the difference in these cards. This is a tower meant to isolate. And as we talked about, this is a card of collaboration and community. So perhaps it's this isolation in the tower, the thought, the arrogance to think I can do it all by myself, that is crashing down and illuminating the necessity of this collaboration. And then we finish here with the Ace of Pentacles, which is a solid new beginning in the material realm. This is the building of something new. This is really what the Knight of Pentacles is both. Well, let me say this. I could have just said there that the Ace of Pentacles is what drove our Knight of Pentacles to go on his quest in the first place. This Pentacles came in, and look at now he's journeying with it. But I'm mindful that we have the World here at the bottom of the deck, which tells me, you know, it speaks to completion. And this is what our Knight of Pentacles is seeking. This solid new beginning, this abundance, back to our green man, of course. And so, looking to the future, how to turn this world, this idea, this vision, into manifest reality. It's going to take a team to bring this all the way across the finish line. That's what the world is saying here. Whew. That was a good one. All right, let me see if there's anything else to add here. I think that message was pretty clear. I'm mindful of where we started. So with the Amazonite, you know, be in tune with the heart and the throat chakra, especially. Clear expression. Queen of Swords. Clear communication, diplomacy, collaboration. And our green man. Mastering your resources. Okay. I am going to leave this one here, so I hope that served, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Hello, pile number 2, and welcome to your reading. So if this is your pile, you chose the Feather and the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Duggan. So, and I do have a bonus card here, which I'll come to in a moment. But to start off with our totem here. So the feather speaks to finding your wings. It speaks to ascending to new heights. It is the realm of air and the mind and communication, but also especially of spirit. I'm being drawn as I speak to this card here, the back of which shows 2 quills, which both have the feathers and the writing implementation. So it's communication from spirit, through spirit, by spirit, you know, divine inspiration, communicating in a divine way. And then, of course, as I said, you know, learning to soar, whether that's through your communication, in your spirit, coming into a sort of higher, fuller expression. So I'm going to put this up here for now. Now, this card here, I have a few new decks that I'm trying to incorporate in. I'm obsessed with this deck. It's beautiful. It's called the Bone Stone and Earth Flesh Tarot. It is an extremely rich deck. And each card, in addition to having all of the, you know, familiar tarot cards, has a figure from mythology, folklore, spirituality on it to give the card extra depth and meaning. So I'm using these like oracle cards this month. And I pulled the 3 cards that represent the sign of Taurus and randomly assigned one to each deck. So I don't know what card this is yet. And I pulled those cards because as we move into the month of May, we are in Taurus season, and that is the energy that is really setting the stage for the month ahead. We will move into Gemini, of course, later in the month, around the 21st or so of May. But right now, it is really Taurus energy that is prevailing. And it can have a few different expressions. And so let's see what expression we have here. So here we have, excuse me, my voice, the Empress. And in this deck, she is known as the Lady of Leaves. So the Empress, of course, is our ultimate divine feminine. You see our figure here is pregnant. I should probably cover her up a little bit, but I think it's far enough away. YouTube is particular about body parts. But she is fertility itself. She is Mother Earth. Everything grows out from and through her. She carries all of life in her being. Her mantra is, I don't chase, I attract. She has no need to go out questing for things. They come to her because she already has it in her. And by being in tune with what is in her, which is the totality of life and abundance and fertility, she then attracts it in to her. So as within, so without, it comes to her. Now, let me consult our little book here and tell you a little bit about what the message is from the book. So the message for the Lady of Leaves is, step into a time of creativity and abundance. Life is offering you the opportunity to birth your greatest passions and pleasure. Well, that's quite a message. I'm going to read it one more time for you. Step into a time of creativity and abundance. Life is offering you the opportunity to birth your greatest passions and pleasure. So that is your oracle message. And I'll just read a couple sentences back here about the Lady of Leaves. It says, the great Earth Mother, Our Lady of Leaves, is the embodiment of the natural world. A cornucopia of sound and color, she is the oldest of deities, sacred and wise, powerful and deadly. To harm her creation will anger her, and when angered, she will thwart. As a mother, she is kind and all-giving, granting unconditional love to her children. As a lover, she is formidable, sensual, emotional, and boldly authentic. So the embodiment of the natural world, the oldest of deities, sacred and wise. So that is the embodiment of May, of Taurus season, that is being called of you, through you, from you, Our Lady of Leaves. Okay, I'm going to put her over here with our feather. And then let's move to our tarot. So I'm going to do the classic, or at least my classic, 255 layout. So that will be 2 cards for the overall message, 5 for the story, and then 5 more to confirm and clarify. So let me just finish the shuffle here. I already did shuffle, but I want to just make sure we're all attuned before we get into it. Being told to cut. Okay, energy is set. All right, 2 cards, please, for the overall message here. This pile number 2. Okay, we have the 2 of Wands. So, looking to new horizons, new adventures ahead. I'm being told to shuffle one more time after that card. Don't know why, but it's my place to obey, not to question. Okay. All right. Something specific. Well, okay. So, oof. Let me show you the bottom of the deck. It's the 5 of Cups, which is loss, regret, remorse, but also the wisdom and the lessons that come from things not working out. So something has not worked out. Something has disappointed, something has failed, something has been lost. And as a result, you are seeking a new beginning. But with our 2 of Wands, there is a sense of, it's not quite 7 of Cups energy, like, looking at all the options. It's seeking a new vision. It's really desiring that clarity of, what has ultimate value for me, not for everyone else. What, you see the world in his hand. What makes my world go round? Perhaps this has been, a breakup, a death of a loved one, a loss of employment, perhaps. Whatever that is for you, there's a sense of, as hard as it is, as much as it hurts, it wasn't giving everything. You sense that there's more. You sense that there is something that is more right for you. And you may not have a clear vision of what that is yet. Perhaps you're still grieving over the 5 of Cups, but always remember the lesson of the 5 of Cups. There are the 3 that have been spilled, and they must be grieved and dealt with, but there are 2 standing. And you will have the lesson of the 3 that have spilled to carry forward with the 2 that stand. And of course, remember the 2 of Cups is, wonderful card of partnership. So, seeking a new vision in order to bring about this tangible new beginning in the real, in your real world, in your life. Where do you go from here? That's really kind of the overarching question here. Where do you go from here? And it requires a new sense of vision. But the good news is, there is a sense of many possibilities being on the table. Now, there probably is one, I don't want to say only one correct choice, but there is probably one option that is most authentic to you, that you are trying to come into alignment with. Remember, that which we are seeking is also seeking us. And there is, there are always many possibilities. And of course, we have free will. But that doesn't mean that every possibility is the best possibility for our most authentic, deepest soul expression. And so there's like a scanning here for what resonates, what feels the most aligned for you. And there's a desire, I love seeing this Ace of Pentacles here, because there is the desire to make it real, to take concrete action, to bring this into being, but first, and I actually would say simultaneously, because I imagine there is some movement already happening in your life. There's a refining of the vision and a getting clear about it. I thought there was one more thing, but let's go ahead and get our 5 cards. and get the story here. Okay, so 7 of Pentacles, having put in the time, but also requiring patience for this to unfold. Okay, shadow side, which is the devil. So with fears and anxieties coming up, well, look at that. There's our 5 of Cups that was on the bottom. So there definitely has been some loss. 8 of Cups, anxiety, getting trapped in overthinking. Okay, that was too many cards. Let's reset. 1 card, please, for our last set. There it is. Okay, 4 of Pentacles. Okay, bottom of the deck, I do like to see this. 3 of Pentacles. So this is the card of mastery. It is, you know, this card is interesting because it only shows a solitary figure, but this is a card of collaboration. It's usually working together and working on a master plan to build the way forward. So that's sort of what's going on beneath the surface, and that sort of confirms what I was saying with our first 2 cards. There is a sense of an eye towards the future, of also how are we going to get there and what does that plan need to be. Now this being on the bottom of the deck for our first set of cards here is speaking to what's happening in this energy, which I'll get into in a minute. What's happening beneath the surface with that is sort of figuring out the plan, figuring out the practicalities, figuring out the blueprint. And there is a bit of figuring out here. And some patience, and I want to honor that this might not be the energy that you really want to be in right now. It's not stuck. If it was stuck energy, I would tell you it's stuck energy. It's not stuck. It's just there's still some things that are trying to like work out and like make sense internally. And it's not even inner turmoil. It's processing. You know, 5 of Cups, that in between the loss and the new beginning. It's that processing. And then on either side, we have the shadow side, which is the devil, which is unhealthy attachments, obsession, being in kind of limerent thinking over things. And then 8 of Swords is the mental prison. It's, you know, analysis paralysis. It's thinking we're stuck and trapped when we're not. Let me back up here. 7 of Pentacles does speak to a coming harvest. It is not full harvest time yet, but as you see with our character here, he has put the time in. He has done the work, watered his plants, you know, done the things that need to happen in order for this to grow. So there is a coming harvest. However, this requires diligence and patience. And he knows that, but that's a hard thing to be in. And in the meanwhile, in this in-between sort of space, again, 2 of Wands, between 2 wands, behind the wall, looking out at the world, but still behind the wall. We're not stepping out into the world just yet, but we're considering. But there is still some processing of unprocessed emotions. That's redundant, but it is what's happening here. That still needs to be attended to. There are still attachments that maybe need to be released. So that's with our devil here. And it's also a little bit here, especially with the 8 of Swords. It's like, don't let fear get the better of you. Don't let, you know, what's happening. Grief needs to be attended to properly. That's very important. Grief does not get to therefore tell you that the rest of your life will be grief forever, or that everything is going to end in grief. That is a lie that the devil wants to tell you. You know, a great teacher of mine once said, you know, grief is the price we pay for love. Anytime we lose something and have that horrible grief, it means we cared. It means we loved. Whether that's a partner, a pet, a parent, whether it's a project that didn't come to fruition, some kind of disappointment. And it can be difficult when we're in the grips of that grief. You know, all those, you know, one grief triggers all griefs. One loss brings up the memory of all loss. And Seven of Pentacles does speak to process. You might be moving through a process of grief right now that's got you feeling heavy, overburdened by possibly negative thoughts, because we have the shadow side and the Eight of Swords here. And Four of Pentacles is being stuck, holding on too tight, overly concerned about materiality and not stepping out into the world for fear. It's like, it's a scarcity mindset. You know, it's like, I have this and I'm so afraid I'm going to lose it. I can't take any action. I got to protect this. When really going out and right use of resources, right application and sharing of resources creates more flow and abundance. But this energy, this Five of Cups loss, has got you moving through a process of, and perhaps examining, Eight of Swords, Four of Pentacles, examining where you have those beliefs of scarcity and loss. If it's like, I'll just use the example of a breakup. Like you lost somebody that you were in a relationship with, and you know, I want to honor how hard that is, for sure. But also that feeling of, I'll never love again. I'll never find somebody else. I'll never, and like, which, you know, and absolutely no judgment. We all have been there. Any of us who have loved and lost know that feeling. But it is a feeling that sort of shadow side devil latches on and attacks us and keeps us from moving back out. And that's not to say that we don't need to take time to grieve. As I've said, grieving is important, and it can take us through a season where, you know, maybe we are a little more Four of Pentacles and just a little more lethargic and not ready to get out there. But the important thing is not to get stuck in a mindset that you can't get there. And I'm reminded your oracle here is the Empress, which is about that creativity. So this is a process you're moving through, and I want to honor this is a hard process. This definitely does not look easy. But what the overarching energy is a new vision for a new beginning and applying your creativity for abundance and life. So looking to that new plan. Okay, this plan didn't work out. What's the new plan, and what's going to be more authentically aligned? Okay, let's clarify. So 5 more cards, please. Nobody wants to come out. Let's see. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. So that's more cards than I wanted, but Four of Swords, the Sun, King of Cups, so this is good. This is sort of what's going on beneath the surface. Ace of Swords, oh my God, I can't tell you how much I love that. Oh, here's our last one. Now that flipped over, I don't know if you saw that as it came out, it flipped over, and I'm gonna honor that. Oh my gosh, y'all, this is gorgeous. This is gorgeous, and I'm so happy to see that because, as I said, I wanted to honor how tough this row was. Knight of Swords, bottom of the deck. So new inspiration, new ideas to charge forward with. I'll come back to that in a minute. I want to get into this bottom row here. This makes me happy, and it should make you happy too. Okay, Four of Swords, again, this is another card of process and patience. Four of Swords is about taking a step back and resting in order to heal. Healing can take many forms. Sometimes the best way to heal is inaction. There needs to be a pause and a withdrawal. And as we've seen here with the Five of Cups at the center, there is no action here. And that can be stagnation. It can also then turn into a time of necessary isolation to heal, to come back into oneself, and to not, you know, be over processing or pushing beyond where you are. So, and coming underneath the Seven of Pentacles, which I said is, you know, the coming harvest, but also a card of needing to wait and have patience. The hard work is done, but it's not quite time for the harvest yet. And so in this pause, the Seven of Pentacles pause, this Four of Swords gets to happen. And swords, of course, is the suit of the mind. And so this is a break in mental activity. It's like this pause means you can just give the mind a rest and let it all reset. Let go of all of this. And having done this Four of Swords, we have the Sun under the shadow side, which is the happiest card in the deck. This is a new perspective. This is the sun shining in and dispelling all these shadows. I mean, even like you see this bright light here in the top of this card, you know, if we can turn our attention to that light, I mean, this really is the sun shining through there, and kind of see things for what they are. And it's this Four of Swords resting of the mind and healing that is allowing the sun to break through and cast out these shadows. So then, Five of Cups to the King of Cups. King of Cups is the highest form of love. It is the highest expression of love. It is the, you know, as I talked about, maybe I didn't talk about this here, you know, queens are the embodiment and the essence. Kings are the implementation and the action. It's not the gender, it's what they archetypally represent. So this is not only coming into that state of love within yourself, but it's being able to sort of lead and reorder life from a state of love. So having gone through the Four of Swords, the rest, the new perspective, casting out the shadows, there's finding that deep love in self and saying, okay, my action from here on out is from this place of love. I have love to give. And as I lead with love, there is more love. Again, as the Empress, I don't chase, I attract. Even though our king, I'm talking about leading here, it's because he has it to give, he also can receive it. And then Eight of Swords to Ace of Swords. So this is that true mental clarity. This is casting out, going from the Eight of Swords to actually getting clear about what the one big sword is. This is the vision. It's the clarity. It's the fresh inspiration. It's knowing what action to take. This isn't the action itself, but this is coming to know what action it needs to be. And this is moving out of that Eight of Swords energy of feeling stuck, overthinking, overprocessing, bringing all of that energy to a point. The point being the Ace of Swords, the clarity about where to go. And then Five of Pentacles underneath the Four of Pentacles. I love this because this is the Five of Pentacles reversed. This is coming in out of the cold. There has been a time of feeling isolated, trapped, like there's not enough, like there's no help, like you are all alone. I mean, this is upright. This is horrible scarcity mindset. Reversed, this is that wheel turning, coming out of this season, realizing that there is more, that there is help around, that there are others to lean to. And of course, with our Knight of Swords on the bottom of the deck, now we have some movement, you know? We have our Ace of Swords, and now our Knight of Swords can carry it forward to sort of cut out this Four of Pentacles, stagnation, overprotecting, you know, not flowing. So that is lovely. This reading very much honors that this is a very tough moment. But look at what's actually happening beneath the surface. Look at what's coming. There's rest and healing, new perspective to cast out the shadows, leading with love, new vision, and coming in out of the cold. Returning to right resource. Which brings in back to our overarching energy, our Two of Wands and our Ace of Pentacles. You know, I want to go back to where we started with the beginning, with the feather, of course, finding your wings, ascending to new heights, and look what we have here. We have a hawk with the Ace of Swords, flying to new heights with the feather. Clarity of the mind, being lifted by spirit. You know, the swords are also that suit of spirit. being lifted by Spirit out of this Eight of Swords. So finding your wings, flying with Spirit. And I want to read to you that Empress message one more time, just because, you know, I want to leave with that. There was so much in it. Her message is, step into a time of creativity and abundance. Life is offering you the opportunity to birth your greatest passions and pleasure. And I mean, now looking at the tarot cards that came out, how perfect that is. Life is offering you the opportunity. Time of creativity and abundance. Again, coming out of scarcity, stepping into abundance. That's the invitation. That's what this process is about. Step into a time of creativity and abundance. Life is offering you the opportunity to birth your greatest passions and pleasure. So this is the opportunity right here. Channel the Empress. Move through this process. Watch this again if you need to. If you're really in this energy, you know, coming back to it throughout the month might help just, you know, work through and integrate this process that's happening. So I wish you well and all the best. Take heart, because this is looking good. So I hope that served, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Hello, pile number 3, and welcome to your reading. Last but not least, so if you chose this pile, you chose the Believe stone. Belief carved in stone. Belief, of course, is, you know, that primal, spiritual, foundational force that we need to get anything over the finish line, that we need in order to create anything, that we need in order to propel anything forward and to give life and anything we do meaning. What do we believe about it? What do we believe in? And of course, this is in stone. Stone, that solid, strong foundation. What belief do we find strength in? And how strong is our belief? What grounds us? You know, this is not airy-fairy, pie-in-the-sky belief. This is belief through experience. I'm hearing trudging through. And that knowing from experience, you know, what can be achieved, how we get to the other side, what we work with. So there's a strong, excuse me, allergies, grounding energy to this. How do we ground our beliefs? And what does that grounding then make possible through belief? What does grounding make possible through belief, with belief? Because when we are grounded, much more becomes possible. And then belief is not an abstraction. Belief is a reality that we body forth into being. Now, you'll notice there's an extra card here. I have a couple extra decks that I'm incorporating into these readings now. And I love this deck. It's called the Bone Stone and Earth Flesh Tarot. It is phenomenal, and it's very rich. The art is gorgeous, but I'm using these as oracle cards right now because in addition to each of the cards having the familiar tarot aspects to them, there's also a figure from mythology, folklore, the spiritual realms on each of these cards to give it some extra depth and some meaning to it. So I pulled out the 3 cards of the deck that are associated with the sign of Taurus. Because, of course, as we move into the month of May, we are in that sign of Taurus. We will move later into Gemini season around the 21st, but the prevailing energy that's setting the stage for how we move into this month, that is sort of going to dominate the energy of this month, is that of Taurus. And of course, each sign can kind of offer different aspects of itself for us to learn from and lean into as archetypes and as guides. So I assigned one of these cards that represents Taurus randomly to each deck, and each will have an oracle message. So let's see what yours is. So you have the Hierophant, which in this deck is called the Grandmother. Now, look how gorgeous and powerful that woman is. This is the wise woman, the medicine woman, who has, I mean, this is, you know, the shaman, really. The walker between worlds, who knows the spiritual truths and rules and brings the wisdom and the magic of the other realms into this realm for healing and guidance. So talk about grounding through belief and belief in grounding. She is sort of that mediator between the realms. So I want to use the book a little bit here because it has such wisdom in it. Just tell you a little bit what her message is. So this is the oracle message for this card. Guided by a wise teacher, you will gain the tools and spiritual knowledge needed to navigate your situation. Enriching your life with timeless meaning leads to profound personal discovery. So that's the message. I'm going to read it one more time. Guided by a wise teacher, you will gain the tools and spiritual knowledge needed to navigate your situation. Enriching your life with timeless meaning leads to profound personal discovery. So that goes beautifully actually with the stone. Gaining the tools, spiritual knowledge, navigating the situation. I apologize for my voice. There's pollen outside everywhere and it's a little bit making me a little congested. And then I want to give you a little bit on the grandmother figure. Her people call her grandmother, for she surrendered her name to nature a lifetime ago. She is the keeper of ancient wisdom, handed down over many lifetimes. She holds the space of the sacred crone, the wise elder of her people. They turn to her every day for all manner of things, to heal, understand, wed, bury, enchant, and guide. It is the grandmother who guides those into the realm of spirit. It is she who teaches the old ways. So that is your guide for moving through the month. Either to find that grandmother within yourself, perhaps finding a grandmother type figure to help guide you and navigate you through your situation, and also bridging the realm of spirit with your practical matters. That means there is spiritual advice, but understanding spiritual guidance as practical guidance. The realm of spirit and the realm of, our embodied life here, they're not separate. They interact with each other. And the grandmother, the Hierophant, mediates between those realms and holds that wisdom and embodies it. So that is what you are being called to learn to embody as you move through this month. And there may be a situation that you are currently navigating that you need her energy, that medicine, to move through. All right, let's see what the tarot cards have to say. I did already shuffle, but having read these oracles, I found this with the first two piles as well. They're so powerful. This deck is amazingly powerful and wise. The deck is a grandmother itself, so I just want to make sure. I'm just going to take a moment to be quiet here and make sure that the energy is aligned. Okay, one more shuffle. I'm going to cut. Okay, I'm told that it's set. All right, so we're going to do my classic 2-5-5 spread. So 2 cards for the overall message. 4 of Cups, all right. Now these 2 cards came out together and I'm going to honor that. So 2 cards for the overall message, except it's sort of 2.5 here. We'll do 5 for the overall story and then 5 more to clarify and confirm. So, speaking of a situation, we have one here. So starting off with the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups speaks to, I mean, you see our character here. She has closed herself off in a glass bubble. There's usually depicted an offer being made to her in the form of a cup that she is completely closed off to because she's bored, she's unsatisfied, she's got her arms crossed, she's staring down at the ground. In this case, there's life swimming and teeming all around her, but she, you know, is just swimming instead of in the big ocean in this tiny little self-closed off bubble. So there's been a sense of isolation, there's a sense of dissatisfaction and discontent and boredom. And I do know, I've read the description book for this deck, and there's a line with this card that says, there is no excuse for boredom. Look at what's all around. All you have to do is sort of get out of the glass and, engage again for there to be life and movement. But so you may be finding yourself in a state of being closed off and isolated and withdrawn and feeling bored and unsatisfied. Then we have with these other two cards here, the Eight of Swords, which is that card of worry, anxiety, being stuck in the mind, overthinking, analysis paralysis. And now here I want to just point something out. This is actually the Strength card. In this deck, I know it says 11 here. In this particular deck, Strength and Justice are reversed. So the 8 card is Justice, just in this deck. The 11 is Strength. So here we're slaying a dragon. And this anxiety card here, this Eight of Swords, this tells me the dragon being slayed is that mental stuckness, is that worry and that anxiety. It's those fears that, you see our character here sort of clinging to her bunny. Bunnies are skittish and nervous and, speak to worrying and quick moving, flighty energy. And because these two cards came out together, that means they're meant to be read sort of as one card. So there is a need to overcome, to find the strength to slay this anxiety and this worry, because it is keeping you stuck and separate and unsatisfied. And perhaps, you find yourself in this Four of Cups mode, which I imagine is where, if this is your reading, there's a situation that you have found yourself in this Four of Cups mode of nothing satisfied, bored, disappointed, not wanting to participate. And you might know on some level you need to break out of that. But breaking out of that brings up a lot of anxiety of, I can't do it, I'm tired, there's not enough energy, there's not enough strength, there's not enough time, it's just going to disappoint me. It's like you go to a party and it's a terrible party, so the next 10 times you're invited to a party, you're like, no, I don't want to go because it's just going to disappoint me. Well, it's not the same party. But there's a need to conquer that mindset, to slay that mindset and find the strength. Once you slay this dragon, she gets to ride off on her, fancy giraffe steed here on to new adventures. So there are new adventures to be had, and this also speaks to shake things up. So always be thinking about here how your grandmother energy can help shift the situation. But let's see what the rest of the cards have to say. Whoa, well, 2 just dropped right out there. Oh, my favorite card in this deck. Page of Wands. Oh my gosh. You are going to be rediscovering some magic. Grandmother, magic. Okay, let me get the rest of the cards before I get too far ahead of myself. But that is a potent combination right there. Okay. First 5 cards. I need 3 more. Okay. 4 of Wands. This deck does have a few different meanings, and I'll talk you through those as we go. 4 of Wands is one of them. Okay, so that's Knight of Pentacles reversed. I want to make sure there's space to see all of this. I'm noticing there's a very big glare on these from my light here, but we're going to have to work with that right now. I'm not going to interrupt the reading. there it is. Okay. And the Empress, so gorgeous. Okay, love this. The grandmother wants to take you to a very beautiful place. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Knight of Wands. So that's very fast moving energy. It's also, you know, one of the things I love in this deck, notice that her steed is a flying pig. And you know that expression, when pigs fly? And back to, oh my gosh, Spirit's magic. Belief. Believing that pigs can fly. When you believe it, it can happen. And she's got somewhere to go because she's believing in the impossible. But to her, it's not impossible. This is not an impossible belief. This is just believing and making it so. Now, speaking of making it so, we start off here. This is going to drive me. Whoa! Uh-oh. Sorry. It's going to drive me nuts. All right. I apologize because this is a magical reading and I don't want to interrupt it, but we have a light situation here. Stay. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So what was I saying? Making things happen. Page of Wands with the Magician. Page of Wands is about, in this deck particularly, learning magic. Learning magic meaning the interconnectivity, the dynamic energy that flows through all life, all things. And that energy is not separate. It's all one. It's one luminous web. It's threads of energy all weaving together, and they converge at times to bring about real action, real manifest reality. And Page of Wands in this particular deck speaks to learning about that. Learning about the energies, learning about how energy works, how to work with it, where it comes from, how it goes. This is almost like Shaman's Apprentice card. And then we have here, this is the Magician. So the Magician is like, you know, the Magician is our Page of Wands, you know, 5 years down the line after having apprenticed in this magic. Knows how to use it. Notice, you know, here we talk about being between the realms. Her mask is animal, but she's also sort of part animal, part human. She's a hybrid, just like our grandmother shaman here. Can be two things at once, can be in two worlds at once. Knows how to work with the elements and wield them to create to her advantage. And not advantage, I don't mean that in a sort of like strategic, ambitious kind of way, just for positive benefit, for greater good, for herself and for others. Four of Wands here. Now in this deck, this can speak to celebration and joyful things, but this also speaks to moving through a situation quickly. A situation stabilizing, but you're also not staying long. And this means just sort of like keep going. It's not the time for rest. Now, Knight of Pentacles here, reversed. With the Four of Wands tells me there's probably some fatigue. You know, the Knight of Pentacles is our slowest moving knight. The Knight of Pentacles is slow, steady, methodical. It's also just heavy, not in the sense of like depressed heavy, but in just like plodding, like just like it's a concrete energy that takes more effort to move. And if it's been moving for a long time through a situation, it might be kind of exhausted. It might feel like it's a lot to keep moving. And I want to, sorry, I'm having many thoughts at the same time here. With our Knight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, there is a sense of learning this magic will lighten this burden. Will, you know, the Knight of Pentacles takes on a lot and it can exhaust and just kind of wear itself down. And so there's a need for this injection of Knight of Wands energy, of belief, back to belief. This is all speaking to each other and connecting. Of this belief to sort of get our steed moving again. And then here we have, this is the Empress. And the Empress is at one with all of nature. She is nature itself. She represents Mother Gaia, Mother Earth. She, her mantra is, I don't chase, I attract. All of the abundance is within her. And so here we're speaking about learning about this energy, learning how to use it, helping it to propel and lighten this energy going forward to a place where, let me sit with this for a moment. What I'm being called to as I speak is notice the contrast between our Four of Cups and our Empress here. The disinterest and the interest. Look how curious she is. And both of them have glass. One's glass is keeping her covered. The other's glass is being used to magnify and inspect. And we talked about this card, Four of Cups, saying there's no excuse for boredom. Our Empress is the opposite of bored. She's using her glass to discover more in the minute. So this may look like a simple insect, but when it's under that magnifying glass, it's got intricate eyes, intricate wings, intricate designs all over it. There's no need for boredom here because there's so much to discover. And what this is showing me is this journey, has got you in this Four of Cups energy of, exhaustion, of being weighed down, of not feeling like there's anything more to see or do, or like I said, it's not worth going out to the party. And I think the answer is also here, particularly it's not the devil is in the details, the joy is in the details. That if you don't know where to look or how to slay this dragon or how to overcome this energy, if there's so much exhaustion from having carried so much energy for so long, the thought of doing something big may just be absolutely too much. This is saying cannot take another step, cannot deal with a big vision, cannot, just too much skittish energy, too much exhausted energy. And what the Empress is saying is, you don't need to do anything big. To reignite that joy, look to the small. The Magician is preceded here by the Page of Wands. Just learning little bits of magic, just learning little bits of things, just doing small things. The answer is in the minute and in the minutia. It's those details that are the antidote to this. Okay, let's clarify. That's very powerful. Whew, let me breathe a moment. Is there anything else that wanted to be said there? I think it's been said. Okay, we can move forward. Okay, Two of Cups. Lovely. I'll make sure you can see everything. Okay, Hierophant. Wonderful. Nine of Pentacles. Nope, this one. Now, that was just on the bottom of the deck, so now here it is coming out, that Knight of Wands, or Pigs Flying card. And look at that, double threes. Talk about some magic. Okay, bottom of the deck here is the Tower. So sudden and abrupt change, but I always say the Tower, usually this is depicted with a lightning bolt hitting the top and the crown being knocked off. And the crown represents the mind, the belief systems, the ego. So the Tower, what is collapsing is a way of seeing, a way of believing. And of course, what have we been talking about this whole time? Belief and how important it is. Okay. So, Two of Cups with the Page of Wands here. So, I'm just looking to see if this is another person involved. And it may well be, but that's not really the point here. This is not like a romantic reading. This could be someone that you are learning with, someone that's going to help this process. It could also be, oh, thank you, Spirit. That was just clarified. Okay. This Two of Cups here is speaking to mirrors. So what relationships are holding up mirrors to you? And what I mean by that is a mirror shows you where you're stuck, but also with what's working. So as you are sort of tapping into this magic, notice what's being reflected back to you, what's coming back to you, because it's a reflection of what you're putting out. So there's a need for feedback by participation or interaction with others, with the world around you. And not only will that feedback show you what's working, it will also show you it will bring lessons to you. It will bring new challenges to you. It'll bounce back energy to you that will give you new lessons to work with through that interaction. I hope that makes sense. That's a little bit of a complex concept. But as you work with this, you will both be shown where you're succeeding and also be shown where you need to grow through a mirroring effect with others and the world around you. Now, this is a powerful duo as well. Magician and then into the Hierophant. So Hierophant is sort of traditional structures, traditional belief systems. You could say the two are at odds, but I don't think they are. And also, mind you, the card we have leading here, this is the Hierophant. The grandmother is the Hierophant. And this is like the wisdom of the ages. It's the tried and true structure. You know, the Magician is that like raw ability. But the Hierophant speaks to the road proven and those that can show the way. And, you know, the grandmother is here, as we talked about. There's wisdom needed from wise elders. And that's speaking to that help being there. You're also, I would say, becoming a wise elder yourself through these experiences. And in learning about this magic, quote unquote, the Hierophant speaks to the right use of it. And yeah, I'm just going to say that, the right use of it, trying to think of a better way to say that. How your use of it, there it is, thank you. You are a particular in a whole. And we talked about with this previously, those threads that interconnect all of us. And this is that wise understanding of how that works, about how this is like the amplification of the mirror effect. When you begin to work with that, you start to understand every action you take has a ripple effect, both out towards others, Two of Cups, and back towards you. So what you do, this isn't necessarily about karma. This is just about understanding that you have your individual experience, but it's also tied to the collective experience. You know, Magician is solo, religion is communal. It is about the good of the whole and how the whole works together. And so that is sort of what is being learned here and what is needed to be learned. As I said, the grandmother, her wisdom and her power is not for herself. It is to bring to others, to guide and to minister to them, you know, in her way. Okay, Four of Wands to Nine of Pentacles. So the Nine of Pentacles I love because it is, you know, it is a card of being surrounded by abundance, but it's a card of being surrounded by your own abundance. But with our Four of Wands here, that moving quickly through a situation, there's a perspective to be gained here. Notice that she's also looking, you know, one eye is human, one eye is animal. And that will help, you know, talk about the grandmother being in two realms, seeing with two eyes. that is what helps. It's the balance that grounds her in her abundance and situates her comfortably in her life. I don't mean comfortably luxuriously. I mean comfortably being at home in one's own being at ease and attuned to and in flow with everything that is around. So this Four of Wands that we're moving quickly through is kind of getting to that. This is almost to me saying like where it's going, and this is such an independent energy. And that doesn't mean you don't need others. There are definitely others at play here, but it's developing that security in yourself. You know, it's not fleeting, and it's moving from being fleeting to being solid, to being something you can shift in and out of, you know, seeing with two eyes. This is about personal stability. Now, moving to Knight of Discs in reverse, Knight of Pentacles reverse, to our Knight of Wands. This is really just confirming everything I was saying before when the Knight of Wands was on the bottom of the deck. That lightness is needed. The belief is needed. And this shows you Four of Wands to Knight of Pentacles, gaining the experience to make your belief solid. Watch from the beginning what we were talking about as I opened. That belief becomes solid and then makes the belief come real. It makes it possible, you know, as it is thought, so it becomes. So now this pig can fly, and what was stuck and exhausted is now moving with lightness. And then here we are again, Three of Cups with the Empress. You know, our threes are dynamic flow. Anytime there's a three, there's a trinity. Like think of even just religious trinity. It's things greater than the sum of their parts. Because as they move together in relationality, all the energies get put in and they get to amplify. Magnifying glass, amplification. So the joy here and the fun is being amplified by this movement, by looking into those details. So there is a lot to be learned here. This is about gaining wisdom through experience. Again, grandmother. But look where it's leading. Empress, Three of Cups. Curiosity, community. And I will say this, if you're stuck in this Four of Cups mode here, there is a need for community here. There is a need for others. You know, again, even though the grandmother is a unique figure, she doesn't exist alone. She exists in community. And there's a need to find that balance between the self and the community here. So what you have to offer, you know, it gets to be yours. It gets to be your experience. You're not sacrificing yourself, you know, in order to make a community happy. You are bringing something valuable to the community, but the community is also going to give something valuable to you. It's going to make you more, just as you will make it more. So it really is finding that balance between the two. And finding that belief, merging the two worlds, making pigs fly. So let me just see if there's anything else to be said with this reading. I think it's been quite clear. So I want to leave you with that message from the grandmother again. Let me just read this to you to close. Guided by a wise teacher, you will gain the tools and spiritual knowledge needed to navigate your situation. Enriching your life with timeless meaning leads to profound personal discovery. And my goodness, isn't that exactly what the cards have said? Guided by a wise teacher, you will gain the tools and spiritual knowledge needed to navigate, apprenticing here, navigating Four of Wands. Enriching your life with timeless meaning leads to profound personal discovery. Enriching your life with timeless meaning, finding the magic in those details. and the personal discovery, who you are independently and within the community. Okay, that is quite powerful. There's a lot of beautiful energy here. So I wish you all the best. I hope that served, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.